Hello, guys. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to today's podcast. Welcome to the Peak Performance Podcast, and welcome to a special guest. I said earlier off air, everyone always says, like, oh, we got a special guest, la li da li da. This guy is a special guest to me. I've known this guy for a long, long time. He's been through a hell of a transformation, both physically, mentally, spiritually, in his business. He's gone through a lot, and he's got a hell of a story to share. And that's why I want to get him on to talk about ultimately his passion and ultimately how he can help you guys moving forward as well. So without further ado, introducing Chris Brumat. How you doing, Chris? You okay?
I'm great, thank you, Jim.
Good stuff. Very calm compared to me. Good stuff. Yes. Yeah. Chris, give us a breakdown. Who is Chris? Where's he from? What's his background? What are you currently doing right now in life? And I guess if you've got some time for us, go back and tell us paint the story and the picture for us of where you came from to where you are now.
So I've literally just finished a 3-day training course on how to set up a podcast because I've been trying to do it for a long time, but trying to refine the message. And we were trying to decide on the name, and it was something to do with redefining masculinity, because I feel the word has been twisted into something that is unhealthy and toxic, which isn't masculinity in one bit at all. But then also it was the idea of a modern day knight. What would a knight look like? We used to have knights and warriors and heroes in the world, and it doesn't feel like there's many of them around. We're in short supply. But ultimately, there's some pretty horrible people in the world, and who's going to stand up against them? Strong, confident, masculine men, because they're the only people who are capable of it. And especially in the UK, we have an authority that's a bit of a joke, and people don't take it seriously. The crime rate is going up. Who's going to stand against these people? Because unfortunately, there's a lot of people who've been through horrendous situations, and they live their lives in fear every day. Some people are scared even just going out in the street. Some people are scared in their own home because someone has entered their home, their safe space. And who then protects them? Who makes them feel safe?
See, obviously you've come to this realization. Your passion is installing the confidence and also certainty in young men to become ultimately more masculine men, providers, protectors, and also do well in their life and create legacy, right? How obviously, from what I understand, you've had this passion from ultimately your own journey and from where you've come into ultimately who you are as a leader and a man today. Tell us more about that transformation and how you have arrived at that destination.
I mean, the perspective shift moment was in 2021. I went through a breakup, and it was as we were coming out of that last lockdown. So obviously in the UK, we continued to, I think it's March, April time. I went and the relationship ended in February, and I distanced myself from my family because I was trying to improve on myself. They kept seeing me as this person that I used to be, this troubled kid that we'll touch on in a moment. And I was trying to become a better version of myself. But then every time I saw them, they always saw me as this person, which then brought me back to that person. And I think this is a case that a lot of people go through, that someone from your past continually will not respond to you as a person that you're trying to be. So you have to go so far beyond to actually allow them to recognize it and respect the person that you now are. And the man that I am, I'm not a baby anymore. I'm not my mum's baby. I'm a man in my own right. And I've grown into that frame very well because I was also raised very well. So ultimately, it's their job done right. That's our parents' role.
So for you, a big part was also, from what I understand, your parents understanding your value of who you've become and ultimately helping them understand who you truly are, as opposed to where you maybe have felt misunderstood or not. They didn't quite comprehend what you've achieved and these amazing achievements, what you've done. And that was obviously a big thing for you in helping them see that, right? A big part of that, obviously, of what you're saying is for young, impressionable men to ultimately shape better futures. What sort of futures are we shaping here, in your view, here to them? What does that look like? What does the blueprint and the roadmap look like?
From what I can see, it's the absence of strong male role models. So then what happens? Okay, well, a lot of males these days are just going, oh, this is tough. I'm out of here. Okay, cool. So do you mean when you've had kids and then you just leave them and don't care about the responsibilities that you're supposed to have when you made the decision to continue down that road, and you leave them with the mother, and then she steps up, she struggles, she manages as a single mom, maybe with multiple jobs, doing everything she can because she can't just leave. And it's I'm not saying it's always that way, but it's the majority of the situations I see are a case of the guy just leaves, and then that has a huge impact on young boys because without a strong male role model, someone else will fill that void, and that often leads them into the wrong crowd. They often maybe see their mum has been verbally abused, physically abused, anything like that, And that's what they think an adult relationship looks like. So then they're growing up to see, oh, well, they beat each other up and they're arguing, and then they say they love each other. So that's what love looks like. And then the daughter thinks that, oh, well, it's okay to be verbally abused or beaten. No, it's not. Our sole responsibility as a man in a home is to protect them with our life if it means it. Because that's what we've always done through history. Who went off to fight the wars? Who stayed home? Because women and children are precious. The children are the next generation and the women are precious. We are expendable. One man and 100 women can repopulate. 100 men and one woman, we end the population pretty fast.
Okay. So a big part of your message in that is, first and foremost, cultivating an environment, culture back at home, okay, where ultimately things can blossom from, first and foremost, protecting the home dynamic and ultimately, from what I understand, cultivating that culture, being ultimately those traditional roles that we speak about, and ultimately creating a safer place where people are respected and understood, okay, which is true respect and love that you're talking about here. My next question to you is, obviously we speak about, getting these men to become better providers. What is your stance to them of how they can ultimately go and navigate the challenges of life better moving forward? Adversity, because like you said there, people have adversity and they freak out. I'm done. I'll run away. So obviously you say have a supporting environment to navigate that adversity, but then in life, where do these men, these young impressionable men go? What do they need to be? How do they need to shift their perspective in becoming better men moving forward?
Well, it's the studying I've done it, especially online with the interviews I've watched, when it's this red pill and blue pill, red pill, blue pill conversation, and then it was a black pill thing. This incel culture, black pill. It's often termed as, whereas guys that are just sort of giving up, retreating into themselves, playing video games, addicted to porn, video games, food, abusing people online, and it's like, oh, I'm against the world. Women are horrible, and it's
toxic masculinity, right?
Yeah, it is toxic, and it's absolutely not masculine because
deconstructive.
And obviously we're saying about my story. Well, this is literally how I started.
Yeah.
In a time when kids were a bit more active and generally people were a bit healthier. They used to be out in the streets playing and socializing. I had no social skills until the age of 15. I never spoke to a girl until 15 years old.
Yeah.
Because I'm autistic, so then obviously I struggled anyway, which is a social disorder for the most part. And you can overcome a lot of it, but most people just go, oh, I'm autistic, so I'm this way. Or I've been through trauma, so I'm this way. It's like, it's maybe the reason that you become that way, but it's not the excuse that you can just use for the rest of your life to excuse your behavior.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm pretty sure that your medium of way of ultimately increasing the value of a male is by that self-development, investing ultimately in their health, their well-being, their physique, their presence, their stature, and ultimately the discipline that's found from that can ultimately compile and compound into other aspects of life through creating your own company, your career, different avenues of provision to ultimately the family, once again. So from what I understand, it's your medium and arc is through self-development, investing in yourself, and ultimately being a more valuable prospect to society, right?
I mean, like I said, the perspective shift moment was midway through 2021. I'd gone to a breakup and I was lost, and I was like, I was still a really nice guy, but I didn't really know my place in the world. I've been in relationships for years, and it was in my late 20s, and I thought, I don't really know who I am. Okay. So then I just started going out living life again. And it sounds crazy because the first thing for me to gain some independence and some self-belief and confidence, I went to cinema on my own, which sounds pathetic.
No, I like it.
But it was a baby step. And it was like, well, that was out of my comfort zone, because before that relationship, I'd sat in this room every Saturday and I was like, I'm going to go to cinema. And I talked myself out of it until it was too late to go. And I procrastinate. But then that was so empowering to go for the first time on my own. Yeah. And that's how you do it. It's, okay, this little bit of pushing my comfort zone. And it's quite empowering. And then you got the next one and the next one. And then I've just been traveling for 3 months on my own to a country with no plan. Obviously going to India. I came to Dubai first, saw you. Went to India for 2 months and just intentionally had no plan because I knew I would struggle. And the direction I'm trying to go in life is to try and be a male role model and be a leader. And
I like it.
If I can't handle things on my own, how the hell can I lead other people? So I intentionally challenge myself.
Look, I promised you I'd put you on your toes as well. I put you always on the spot. And I think that's the best way to do things, right? Now, if you feel comfortable talking about it, it's up to you. But I know you've been through adversity in your life, like I have. I mean, some deep, deep stuff and challenging stuff over the years gone by. And I don't know whether you want to talk about that, some of the things you've gone through. But I personally feel that ultimately the man you are today, as a very close friend of mine, a client, as well as the person I am today, is that we are shaped by the adversity we went through and the exposure of challenge that we went through, okay, to become the versions that we are today. As you spoke about adversity and people freaking out as soon as they have it. I can speak from experience. Chris has gone through a lot of shit in his life. And ultimately, I think that's why the more exposure you have in life to adversity and challenge, it forces you to grow if you have the right growth mindset and you're receptive to grow. Do you want to talk about some of those challenges that you went through? Some of those things? I don't know if you've spoke about them before. It's up to you.
It's trying to keep it into a condensed version. It's not too long. There's many
It's
chapters.
a hell of a
to the
story. That's why I want
Yeah.
to challenge you here, because I know you've got a great story like me. It's tough. So,
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, I started in. I was the fattest kid in the year at school, heavily bullied, no social skills, no friends, no value. You couldn't be more of a loser if you tried, basically. But this is what a lot of guys are turning themselves into, and just going, I'm just going to put my head up my ass and just give up on life. Okay, does that make you happy? Do you feel proud when you look in the mirror? Because I know I didn't, but I do now, 20 years later. And honestly, when it hit the 20-year mark, I was in India on that travels. And people said, how long you trained? I said, 20 years. The longest I've ever taken off was 23 days in lockdown because I was so burnt out. And I just watched the mind go, because the idea of doing something for 20 years that they know is hard is unfathomable. But that's why being in shape doesn't mean being a big bodybuilder, because a lot of bodybuilders have a lot of messed up mindset. They're a lot darkness in here. It's the idea of being in shape. People know it's hard. So then that's why instantly, unconsciously, you are respected when you are in shape. And you are not respected when you're out of shape, because everyone knows what happened, how you get there, even if it's through really bad situations. So my situation was I really struggled and I just got lost in my computer games. So my step count was probably about 2,000 for the entire day. And I'd get off the bus at school and I wouldn't even walk up a slight hill. I'd wait for one of my neighbors to pick me up. And I'd be so annoyed if they didn't pick me up, because I said, why, they're so selfish, why don't they pick me up? But now I'd look and think, you lazy bastard, walk. It's a slight hill, walk. Because you look at, he's an overweight kid, he needs to walk up the hill. I did need to. But then this is why I don't have any tolerance for people just having this head up their ass attitude, because I was one of those people. And it took so long. I didn't see gratification from this journey for about 17 years, true gratification. So I looked in the mirror and went, for the first time, I remember the day, I went, oh my God, I look pretty good. It took me 17 years to have that feeling. Some people feel like that their entire life, so they don't get it. But there's a lot of guys who won't feel that. They'll look in the mirror and they'll just be disappointed because they know they've got no discipline, they've got no work. So my story has gone through, like I said, these struggles through school. And I came out of school and it was a case of, I started the gym because I attached myself to my brother and his friends because I didn't have any of my own. And I kind of followed them. And I just kind of went from the obsession of the computer games and getting lost it was more for my mental health. I just didn't realize for years. And the gym made me feel good. I didn't know what I was doing. I made mistakes for years. That's why I became a coach. So because it was so hard for me to get any kind of traction and get anywhere, I thought, I don't want other people to struggle so much. So if I then take this stuff that it's took me years to learn, I can condense that down to a few months and people can actually make progress. Because this was unnecessarily hard, but I just had nothing else because I had no friends, no life. And I started to improve slowly, started to slowly gain some confidence. But then we've gone to the point that James is mainly trying to touch on was I wanted to become a personal trainer really badly. And it was in a time when you couldn't get courses funded. And I was really struggling to figure out how I was going to get this course funded. I just wanted to positively impact people's lives. And then I was a doorman for a while after I went to Leeds to go to university. Lost my door badge because someone had hit me and I threw him out. I didn't want to hit him back because he was smaller, trying to be honourable. And then they said I stamped on him and shattered his ankle and all this stuff. And we stood in court. I had to stand in court and watch my mum break down in tears as I accepted an actual bodily harm charge. Because if I didn't and we went to trial, I could have got a GBH charge and gone to jail for doing my job and throwing someone out and trying to be nice. If I just hit him, which I didn't agree with because it was unreasonable force, I would have been fine, which makes no sense. So that was the first domino. Second domino was I was getting ready for bodybuilding show through that whole period. And I was working in a supplement shop because all I knew was fitness. I didn't have any other values or skills. That was what I turned into. And then I lost that job, had a day where I kind of was down in the dumps, and my brother was going to Ibiza, and I came up with this, what I would say is a stupid idea. I'm going to go to Ibiza and I'm going to sell drugs to save the money to be a personal trainer because I want to change people's lives. And in the first week in Ibiza, I wrote down this piece of paper, and it's exactly what I needed. So I lived the most modest life possible there. I wasn't going wild partying. I just need to make this money because I didn't know skills to monetize at that point. And then I sold drugs for 3 months and I lost 4 years of my life for it. But the entire time of that 4 years, after the first 6 months when I was hit rock bottom and almost committed suicide, training saved me. If I didn't train every day, I wouldn't be here right now. And it's why I stand so strongly that training is so important for your mental health. And then I slowly managed to rebuild through training. I was learning Spanish and just progressing with something because your life's on hold and it's horrible. And I just felt like my life was over. But I continued on this path of, I'm going to do every single thing I can to, when I get out of here, still continue as a personal trainer. That's the goal. That's the direction. That's what I'm put on this earth to do, to help people. And I studied and I learned everything I could every single day. So when I came out, I was fully prepared. I also speak Spanish and met people from all over the world, and that put some other things in my head. And then it just continued down this path. And it was horrendous. But do you know when you've gone through something so hard that you can't really get much lower, then everything else in life becomes a little bit easier. And this is when the challenges come in. The more you challenge yourself, the more you can just go, I've done worse. I can get through this. And you do what's required. Because anything worth having in life is not going to come easy. The value is in the difficulty. If it was easy, everyone would have it. It's why you're respected for being in shape. Because everyone knows it's hard to achieve. And for me, it was 20 years. So now when I look in the mirror, I'm really proud. I've gone, it took me 20 years. It's 20 years of work. And I know all the sacrifice and everything I've gone through and how hard it was to get here. If it was easy, I wouldn't value it so much. And I wouldn't have so much belief and so much respect for myself, which has allowed me to respect others in the same way. And this is why I encourage people, just challenge yourself. Don't run away from challenge. Life is not going to be easy. It is hard. Accept it.
Wow. I didn't know you were going to cover all of that. And I'm so grateful you did, by the way. And hopefully...
That was very condensed.
No, I love it. I love the vulnerability. And that's the key thing. Like, I think this is why Chris is being able to do this very well with young, impressionable men, is that he's able to give his vulnerability and help people understand that he's been there. He's gone through it. He can relate to you. And that creates the trust. And that's what we want in life, isn't it? But also, hopefully, it can show you guys that ultimately Chris has gone through the pits. I mean, when he could have given up so easily, you know, you've heard it. You just heard him exactly what he's just gone through. Most people would quit. And ultimately, it's made him stronger, come out the other side. And then he's able to know that I've been through anything that you test me or send my way, I'm going to still be there at the end of the day. And it's what I like to call is that resilience. You know, I've been there. You know my story as well and how dark that is. You know, dark times can either make or break you. And if you stay in the game, you stay there and build that resilience, you create more durability. And ultimately, that durability is ultimately, like Chris is saying, is going to create stronger, more resilient providers and leaders in this society that we need. And that's your big message, isn't it, Chris? So I love that. And I love your story. And ultimately, hopefully, people listening in right now, you're inspired and you're fired up, you know, to ultimately show what's possible. You just don't give up on yourself. And that's the big thing that you're saying. Don't give up on yourself. Find a way. Get an environment. Get a leader. Get people. Invest in yourself. Do better. Up the skill.
Well, this, I mean, like I said, just to finish on this note, potentially, the perspective shift moment was an ex-girlfriend. She was a friend for a long time. Yeah. And then we thought we knew each other more than we did until we went on holiday together as friends. And that's when we realized how we actually felt about each other. But then I started to understand the stuff she's truly been through. And I'm 6'2". I don't feel scared very often. And especially at that point from the stuff I've been through, I don't ever feel scared. I might feel alert, but I'm not scared. To listen to someone who's 5 foot tall, who's been beaten by almost every single man she's ever been close to, apart from her dad and then me. And just so much. And I was like, I didn't know people. I don't know people like this. My head just kind of exploded. And it's like the filter changed on the world. And I looked at the guys around us and where we were, and I was like, this is wrong. This is, it really, I had to lie down. I had an anxiety attack. And I've had that a few times when there's been a full perspective shift moment, because it changes how you view everything in your life. Because then it's like you're rewinding and going through all chapters of your life and adjusting them to factor this in. And I thought, I need to do something about this, because this is so wrong. It's against my core beliefs so much. because and my dad's a very honourable man, and that's where I've got it from. And my mum's just unconditional love. Put them together with more of my mum, you get me. And I thought the only way I can do something is, well, I've got to start with me. That's the first thing I do. I've got to make sure that it's a conscious choice. It's a choice to be a gentleman. It's a choice to be well-mannered. It's a choice to be gentle. When you're a strong man, I choose to not use most of my strength unless I'm in the gym or defending someone who needs it. It's not required the rest of the time. But to have it there is really important, because there's someone like that turned around to me and she said, I just feel safe with you. You know, this was someone at the time who's scared to go outside in the dark, and she flew to another country with me. Why? because she felt safe. And that message kept getting repeated that year. And I thought, this is my place in the world. I'm big and strong. I can either make people feel really scared or really safe. I'm going to choose this one because there's already too many of these people. And someone has to stand up against them. But I can't do it all on my own. So the only thing I can do is try and be as big and strong as possible and the best leader I can to help create more versions of this type of male to combat all these, unfortunately, horrible people we've got in the world. And protect people that need it, because there's a lot of people who do.
Yeah, I think it's like he says, the reprogramming from the core, and the core is ultimately parenthood, and it's being a good leader and good example to children, right? Setting good examples and leading strong and being fair, but also giving opportunity and leading with good values, right? Look, you've got a hell of a message, and I can see you're fired up with what you're saying about it. I want more people to go and follow you and listen to you and get value from you. Chris, where can these people find you?
You can put my name in social media, but there's another Chris Brumat as well that pops up because he's a musician. So it's not. So most of mine is Chris Brumat PT on Instagram, Chris Brumat Coaching on YouTube, and then still undecided when the podcast is fully launched whether we'll start a brand new YouTube channel, which probably will, just for the podcast, and then continue with all the educational content that's on the current YouTube channel. There's a lot of stuff on there. I've been through 2 tummy tucks as well, another load of adversity. There's many chapters to the story, as I said. And basically everything that I've struggled with, I thought, well, if I didn't have the information there, I'll make it so other people can at least benefit. And that's most of my YouTube channel. It's all the things I've struggled with that I know other people will benefit from.
Amazing. Yeah, and Chris obviously loves his long form content, so you guys need to go and subscribe, check him out. He's very passionate about what he talks about. He's a great coach, great man. He's a good friend of mine as well. So, guys, that's been the session today. If you've got any questions for me or Chris, and you'd like to learn more about Chris's story, you can obviously get him back on the podcast again. We can do more of this. Let us know. Leave a comment, and we'll go from there. Chris, thank you so much for your time. Anything else to finish on? All good?
I appreciate it.
Guys, we'll see you in the next one.